Armed, dangerous person, go inside.
Fear,
Oh my days.
anger,
I am sick of thoughts and prayers.
unity. This after an armed man shot and killed a UNC faculty member in just the second week of a new semester. Students and faculty sheltered in place for over 3 hours as police searched for the shooter. A suspect is now in custody, but an entire community is left grieving, searching for answers, a way to heal, and demanding change. Today on Carolina Week, what we have learned since the chaos unfolded. We take a look back at the tragic event and the response from students, faculty, and UNC administration that followed. All this and more next on Carolina Week.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to Carolina Week. I'm Stephen Schlink.
And I'm Lauren Lovett.
Today is our first show of the semester, but it's a semester unlike any other. This semester has now and will forever be marked by the tragedy of last week's campus shooting. Carolina Week staff and I are still recovering from the traumatic campus-wide lockdown ourselves.
Yes, and we are also still mourning the loss of one of UNC's own, Dr. Zhe Yan. And we will talk about Dr. Yan, the lockdown, the community response, and all these different factors. But first, we want to talk about the questions that all of us are still answering. Where were you?
We will all remember that day for one reason or another. So I spoke to several people to see what that memory will be for them. We begin with UNC junior Aiden Moore. He was in Dye Hall when the lockdown took place.
It was happening all so fast. I remember the first thing I was thinking about was just texting my family, making sure that they knew that I was okay.
Aiden says he hopes the university will evaluate areas to improve on, just in case our campus ever faces this again.
We now turn to UNC senior Brennan Cosma. Cosma was in Phillips Hall as the chaos unfolded, and though others were leaving, he chose to stay until the all clear was given.
It was very jarring. I remember my professor specifically stated that, like, you know, they always teach you like what to do in the event that there's like an active shooter in the building, but not necessarily like just on campus, especially with how vague the description was. And so it was very, nobody really knew what to do.
Cosma says that he wants to give major prompts to UNC administration for their quick actions to get the situation under control.
And here you can see Archana Gupta, the out-of-state mom to a UNC freshman. Gupta says watching this all unfold from her home in Maryland was frightening.
At first, we kind of thought it was nothing serious. And then he started messaging. He's saying, "Mom, I can hear screaming." And then he goes like, I love you guys." And it was a text between mom and dad. And he's like, "I love you guys." And that's what I thought, it's something really serious. And yeah, so it was a little scary.
Archana says her son came home for the long weekend, and while she says she's glad things on campus are returning to normal, it did give her so much comfort seeing her son in person.
Finally, we hear from UNC graduate student Ben King. King says his class continued after the lockdown began.
So we started hearing all these sirens. Eventually we heard helicopters. And at first we didn't really kind of realize what was going on. The professor kept teaching. We put down the window shades, but we just kind of kept going as is. And then we took a break at 2, and then we realized there's likelihood that someone's been shot. We locked the doors, turned off the lights, and just kind of texted with family members to let everybody know we were safe for the time being.
King says he'll always remember the way the Carolina community came together after such a horrific day. And here's our point. Whether you were a student on campus, off campus, or a mother in fear in Maryland, this impacted all of us, our entire Carolina community, in only the second week of our fall 2023 semester. Clearly, this shooting affected everyone, and there are still so many questions about what really happened. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we do know from last Monday. According to UNC police, they received a 911 call at 1:02 p.m. reporting shots fired near Caudle Laboratories. Police arrived at Caudle Laboratories shortly after, and at 1:04 p.m., an Alert Carolina was sent out. And it said that there was an armed and dangerous person on or near campus. And it told anyone on campus to shelter in place. The emergency sirens on campus, they also went off. About an hour later at 2:04 p.m., Alert Carolina issued another alert advising anyone on campus to remain sheltered in place. According to the university, at 2:38 p.m., Chapel Hill police arrested the suspect in a residential neighborhood on Williams Circle, just about 2 miles away from the scene of the shooting. After the arrest at 3:14 p.m., Alert Carolina issued another alert telling anyone on campus to continue remain sheltered in place. UNC Police Chief Brian James later said that order remained in place to ensure that the right suspect was arrested and that Caudle Laboratories was safe. At 4:33 p.m., 3.5 hours after the first shelter-in-place order was released, an all-clear was issued by Alert Carolina and the shelter-in-place order was lifted. Around 5:45 p.m., the university held a press conference indicating that one person died in the shooting. On Tuesday, the alleged shooter appeared in court in Orange County and was charged with first-degree murder as well as a weapons charge. His next court hearing was set for September 18th. We here at Carolina Week have made the decision not to name the shooter or show his image. Now, this is still an ongoing investigation, but we do know that as of now, the weapon has not yet been found and police have not released a motive. We continue to press all of these officials for answers.
Students on and off campus sheltered in place for hours, some teachers in tears, others teaching like nothing's wrong. Now, many students are asking what protocols are even in place for these situations. UNC has guidelines available through Carolina Ready, like what you see on your screen. The university's emergency action plan tells students, faculty, and staff to run, hide, and fight if an armed person is on campus. Chancellor Kevin Guskiewicz says that faculty should be sharing this information with students.
Last year, we began a program by which all of our classrooms and auditoriums where classes are held, there's a QR code that's provided for faculty so that at the beginning of the semester they have access to know exactly what the protocol is for that particular site.
The guidelines also ask professors to go over emergency plans during the first week of classes, and departments have the option to request additional training. But some faculty members told me they really didn't know how to respond when the alert was issued.
As your faculty, we're not taught. We don't know how to respond to these situations. We can say the university didn't prioritize this before it happened. We can say the university is at fault for X, Y, and Z, but as faculty, we didn't prioritize it either.
So while the university does have protocols in place, there appears to be a disconnect in how those protocols are carried out.
And contributing to that disconnect was the rumor mill spreading between students and parents alike about what was going on. Carolina Week spoke to a former FBI agent, Catherine Schweit, about this. Schweit created the agency's active shooter protocol, and she said it's important for people not to spread rumors during these events.
There have been thousands of people who have said, I heard from my friend, my uncle is a police officer, my brother told me this, I can hear shots. And all of that is just unverified information that is spread like wildfire that really just amps up the tension for everybody. And it's more important that you not spread rumors and that you rely on the first responders and law enforcement to give you the accurate information.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but the rumor mill during all this was wild. I was upstairs and it was unreal, just the things that we were hearing. What about y'all?
Absolutely. There was a lot going around, and I'm glad that we know what's going on now.
Absolutely, but it does still leave many with questions, and our Kelly Kendall took some of these questions to the state's top leader. Of course, we're talking about Governor Roy Cooper. She's here with us in studio to give us some details.
Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we're wondering, what did the governor have to say about this tragedy?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. The governor and I talked for about 15 minutes, and he listed off a whole lot of things that he would like to see change. There was really a sense of frustration in our conversation. You know, he went to UNC himself, so he says it's a bit personal. To quote him directly, he said he felt personally violated by this shooting, and he offered this message to the Carolina community.
And my message is to come together, to work to try to eliminate violence in our society as much as we can, be resilient.
And Kelly, what did he have to say about the politics surrounding guns in the state?
Yeah, Lauren, it was interesting. He called guns not only a safety issue, but a public health issue. He said he's addressed this by creating the Office of Violence Prevention and by promoting things like safe gun storage. But he did call out Republican lawmakers in the state who he said have made it difficult to implement what he calls common sense gun laws. Take a listen.
I know I have a legislature that not only doesn't want to go forward to take common sense steps to keep guns out of the hands of criminals, out of the hands of children, and out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves or others, they actually have wanted and succeeded in going backward.
Well, and finally, I think the question on all of our minds, rather, did he have anything to say about how we can prevent gun violence moving forward?
Yes, he did. He said that he is absolutely committed to stopping gun violence in response to this shooting, and he encouraged students like us and young people in general to get involved.
Want to see common sense gun reform, and the only way that happens is participating in the political process and actually voting for people who you think will reflect your ideas.
Really great interview. So let's talk about the politics. What inevitably always becomes part of the conversation after a school shooting. You just heard from our state's governor, a Democrat, and our Walter Rinke has the response from Republican leaders and also spoke to the legislators that represent this area who are hearing demands for change.
I am sick of thoughts and prayers. I want bills and I want change.
UNC Young Democrats, March for Our Lives, and other student organizations held a rally on campus last Wednesday after a deadly shooting on campus. TJ White, the president of UNC Young Democrats, says enough is enough.
So my hope is that out of that event, which was attended by about 600 people, that people will get involved in these organizations.
Their next move? A rally at the General Assembly next week when the legislature reconvenes. White says they want to put pressure on the legislature and have students' voices heard. Representative Alan Boynsey, who represents Chapel Hill and Carrboro, says that he has been inspired by students' actions.
And I'm just, left with a tremendous sense of grief, but then also infused with the passion and spirit that our students have demonstrated this week.
UNC Young Republicans did not respond to our request for comment. Earlier this year, Republicans overrode the governor's veto on a bill that repealed pistol permits in the state. That means North Carolinians no longer have to get a permit from the sheriff's office to buy a handgun. Democrats in the General Assembly are calling for more gun safety legislation, such as universal background checks and red flag laws. Republican House Speaker Tim Moore, a UNC alum, said in a statement on the day of the shooting that he was, quote, heartbroken, unquote, by the situation and offered prayers. Republican U.S. Senator Thom Tillis said, quote, we must all continue to work together to protect our schools, confront the nation's mental health crisis, and keep firearms out of the wrong hands, unquote. With Republicans having a supermajority in the General Assembly, any potential new gun legislation would have a hard path ahead of it. Senator Greg Meyer, who represents Orange County, says that Republicans have consistently rebuffed their efforts.
There's a lot of things we could do, but Democrats have proposed bills and amendments every year for the 10 years I've been in the legislature, and Republicans have shot down every one.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Walter Rinke, Carolina Week.
North Carolinians will have the opportunity to change this power balance next November, with every legislator in the General Assembly being on the ballot. Voters will also be choosing a new governor, as current Governor Democrat Roy Cooper is term limited from running again.
Stick with us. When we return, we will turn to Sarah Choi, who is live at the Asian American Center with more on how this tragedy affects the Asian community.
And before we go, this campus shooting has been traumatic for many here at UNC. If you or your loved one needs help, here are some resources. They're on your screen. We'll be right back.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut, the one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink, or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking, now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed, better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead, catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. After the shooting, many in the Asian community felt they became the subject of hateful rhetoric. The suspect, who again we are not showing, is Asian. Another man police initially detained in error was also Asian, and the victim was Asian.
So let's turn to Carolina Week reporter Sarah Choi, who's live at the Asian American Center for more. Hey, Sarah.
Stephen, as a part of this community, I thought it was important to listen to what Asian students are thinking and feeling. I'm standing in front of the UNC Asian American Center, and I can tell you that there's this feeling of sadness and grief for losing one of their own. Over the past week, I've spent countless hours speaking to students of Asian descent, and I can tell you that in addition to this feeling of sadness, there's a whole host of other emotions. There's anger, there's fear, and there's concern. But what do we know? Police admitted during a press conference that they initially detained the wrong person because he fit the description and was in close proximity. We spoke with students in the community who walked us through where they were and what they were doing during lockdown, or shared what they were seeing and doing.
Like it was like over there.
Some feel
And I know I had a friend in
targeted,
Lenore.
and the subject
There's not even like a statement to be made. It's just two completely random different facts that they're just bringing up for no reason other than what I think is, anti-Asian stereotyping.
When they say those things, it's making a generalization of the rest of the community, and it can be hurtful.
The Asian American Center is working to support the community in this time. They've hosted a webinar to help with the process of grieving, as well as address the issue of race and identity in this time. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And the effects of the shooting and lockdown go beyond the Asian community. Students across campus are emotional and in turn taking action. Carolina Week's Noelle Harris spoke to a few students on their experiences and what they're doing now.
Is a senior here at UNC, and he was in a STEM class in Hamilton Hall behind me, where he said he and other students looked towards police scanners and news outlets to let them know what was going on around campus.
The university sent out 4 messages during lockdown, telling students about an armed, dangerous person on or near campus. But that, he believes, was not enough to prevent rumors and confusion.
I'm so confused.
With all the misinformation spreading around from students texting each other on Yik Yak, GroupMe. I mean, I even thought there were 2 shooters running around campus and that there was a shooter dressing up as a cop.
The biomedical engineering student created a petition demanding improvements to protocol. He wants better training for faculty and staff.
They need that obligatory training in order to take the right steps in the moment.
Junior T. Lockamy was boarding the bus when she heard an unfamiliar alarm. She says she only recalls having 1 active shooter drill since being at UNC.
It is a little bit frightening that I've only heard the drill once.
During a press conference hours after the shooting, UNC Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz said he was proud of the response, acknowledging there are always lessons to be learned.
Again, even the best laid plans, as you know, and protocols, sometimes they don't play out as you'd like to, but I'm very pleased with what we know at this point. We'll have an opportunity to review that, learn from the investigation and questions that are being asked, and certainly put improvements to that if need be.
Both Lockamy and Baldonado hope their efforts will help him better the protocol. A week from the lockdown, they say they are still mentally recovering from the event. Reporting for Carolina Week, I'm Noelle Harris.
Thanks, Noelle. Those rumors were a little overwhelming. And Micah says he's planning to email the chancellor on Thursday to try to get a meeting.
Communication will definitely be important moving forward. I know the one commonality I heard with everyone I talked to is information and communication was key to easing their nerves in this. So it'll be good to see more communication. Well, when we return, we talk about the return to classes and the weather that goes with it. Stay with us.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill? No. You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kitchen now.
Welcome back to Carolina Week.
We've spent a lot of time reflecting on the shooting here on campus. And after this Labor Day weekend, as well as Tuesday's Wellness Day, students are finally back on campus and in search of some sense of normalcy.
You know, that normalcy is so important. I know personally for me, coming back from summer break, being here for a week, then the events last week, obviously deterring classes. It's just been hard to get a sense of normalcy and get into any sort of routine.
No, like I'm so far off campus now that I have to wake up about an hour early to try to get to class on time. So yeah. So since we're returning to campus today, let's take a look at this week's weather with Carolina Week meteorologist Nick Boynton.
Yeah, absolutely. And first, we want to take a look at the tropics because they are heating up out there in the Atlantic. We got broad area here of counterclockwise motion. This is Tropical Storm Lee. All right, soon to become Hurricane Lee. And you can see from the National Hurricane Center the track from this thing as it heads throughout the Atlantic. Over here, you can see north of the Bahamas here, heading towards the Bahamas, I should say, as a major hurricane. Now, this should stay offshore and it shouldn't impact the North Carolina coast as of right now. But if you have any friends up in Bermuda, certainly want to give them a call and just have them have a hurricane preparedness plan in place just in case Lee heads that way. Now, for us, we need to prepare by staying inside of an AC building because we have 94 degrees out there at 12 o'clock, 97 by 3 p.m. So upper 90s for the past couple of days, for the next couple of days as well. And we'll cool off tonight at 6 p.m. with 93 degrees. So certainly no benefit here from the sun going down. But as you can see, we will get some relief over the next couple of days. Friday, a cold front starting to move in from the west. That should bring some showers, clouds, and thunderstorms to the region, mainly late in the day on Friday and again late in the day on Saturday. We can check out Saturday, going to be the main weather day for the week. You can see Weather Prediction Center putting out a 70 to 80% chance for those pop-up showers and thunderstorms in the late afternoon and into the evening. So if you're headed out to the football game on Saturday, certainly want to bring an umbrella, poncho, all that sort of stuff so you can stay dry while you're at the game. Now, of course, looking at the coverage for the next couple of days, Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday, it's pop-up stuff into the afternoon. So it's not going to be raining all day, but it will be raining in the afternoon into the late evening hours. So that's when we're most looking for that rainfall. And you can see with our 5-day forecast here, that heat and humidity starting out here Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to stay hot, but those cloud showers and thunderstorms come into the equation Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, it's going to be late in the day. So if you are going to that football game, make sure you get that umbrella handy. But the only benefit here is it does cool our temperatures down back into the low to mid 80s. Now, of course, that's it for the weather. We want to leave you with these mental health resources that UNC has to offer.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
Sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug. You know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for you. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
We're going to end today's newscast by reminding us all of what we lost. Sense of security for some, and one of our own. Professor Zajay Yan left behind young daughters and colleagues who thought very highly of him.
Our Christian Snyder shares his story, who he was and what he meant to his Carolina colleagues.
The bell rang 3 times at 1:02 p.m. as students came together to remember the exact moment Professor Zajay Yan lost his life. The community remembered more than the moment the researcher was shot and killed on campus. Tar Heels remembered the life he lived. At the vigil in the Dean Smith Center, thousands mourned. Those who knew him described Yan as not only an associate professor in the Department of Applied Physics, but also as a father of 2 young daughters and a mentor to students and colleagues.
Dr. Yan was also a loving son. He was a father to 2 young children. His loss will be deeply felt by all those who knew him and loved him.
According to his UNC bio, Yan was a recipient of a PhD with more than a dozen published articles.
CJ would have wanted us to move forward. He wanted us to keep educating students at this magical place.
Tar Heels made it clear he will not be forgotten. In Chapel Hill, I'm Kristen Snyder.
It's definitely a great reminder that, it's not just that sense of safety. It was a human life that we lost as well.
And we are going to continue to follow this story.
But that will do it for this week's episode of Carolina Week. Thank you for watching.